What is up, YouTube? This is Hypergon here, Chat with the Cap, back again for another video. Now, I happen to be looking on Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization, as many YouTubers commonly do, and I noticed they had this little event going on in the OCG that was going to be based off of the October 1st ban list. And that got me kind of thinking, well, are they going to have one? So I checked it out, and the OCG does actually already have their ban list, and it's actually pretty interesting. Sorry, I did take a peek at it, I was curious. But we're not really here to discuss the OCG ban list so much as what this could potentially mean for the TCG ban list. At this point, it's pretty much guaranteed we're going to be getting one soon. If the OCG is getting one, it makes little sense for us not to be getting one at this point. So we're going to first take a look at the OCG ban list, and then talk about what we could possibly be getting on our own TCG ban list. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is the OCG October 1st ban list. It was actually, right here, submitted about 9 days ago, so it is still fairly new. I just hadn't heard about it. Alright, so they only have 2 new cards banned, which are Elder Entity Nodin and Teller Knight Ptolemaeus, which, given what they have in the OCG, I support fully. Those 2 cards are just the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. If you guys don't know what Cyber Dragon Infinity is, it's basically what these 2 cards get. Nodin will just get a bunch of crap on the field. You overlay into Ptolemaeus will detach, go for Nova, and then stack on top of it a Cyber Dragon Infinity, which makes it basically usable by any deck with level 4 monsters in it. It's just absurd, honestly. So there's that. Then we have under the limited section, we have Elemental Hero Shadow Mist, Glow Up Bulb, Insight Magician, Deep Sea Diva, and Shurit Strategist of the Necros. Alright, well, some of this is actually pretty similar to our own. We recently did put Glow Up Bulb back to 3, but I believe we do still have Deep Sea Diva at 1, and we recently put Shurit at 1 as well. So that does actually make pretty good sense. I, for one, am also all for having Shadow Mist put down to 1. I hate Shadow Mist slightly less than I hate Darklaw, so anything to make him harder to get out is fine by me. To me, it's just too much out of one thing. I'm alright with Glow Up Bulb, honestly. It's not like anyone's even going to be playing more than the 1 anyway. And Insight Magician, honestly, I'm not even sure what that is. Let's actually take a look real quick, shall we? Magician. Oh, it's a card we don't even have. Alright. Well, it's one of the Magician cards, so I will assume it is inherently stupid. Alright, so moving on to the semi-limited, we have Curry Bandit, Mermail Abystus, Ivgishki Dustkraken, Mind Control, okay, Book of Moon, Charge of the Light Brigade, Gold Sarcophagus, Allure of Darkness, Dragon Shrine, Gateway of the Six, Sinister Shadow Games, and Crush Card Virus. Honestly, that all kind of makes sense to me. Curry Bandit probably does not need to be at 3. The Mermail one surprised me a little bit. I didn't realize they were still relevant, but to each their own, I suppose. Mind Control surprises me a bit, honestly. I know I said I looked over this, but I kind of more glanced over the top half. I didn't really look at semi-limited and unlimited that much. So, yeah, Mind Control caught me a little off guard there. Rest of it seems fine to me, though. None of it's really too terribly game-breaking. Even Crush Card, with this new errata, it's not, like, that broken. Mostly because of the last effect where your opponent can destroy 3 of their own monsters from their deck. They can help out. And finally, the cards at 3 are E-Hero Bubble Ban, Honest, Chaos Emperor Dragon, Dark Magician of Chaos, Gale the Whirlwind, Manju the 10,000 Hands, Formula Synchron, Wind Up Zen Meigi, Instant Fusion, Magical Stones Excavation, Transmigration Prophecy, and what? Bottomless Trap Hole? I guess they're trying to punish pendulums or something. That caught me a little off guard too, honestly. The rest of it seems to make good sense. Most people wouldn't be running Honest at 3 anyway. I'm pretty sure we have Bubble Man at 3, so it's not that big of a deal. Chaos Emperor Dragon and Dark Magician Chaos both got their erratas, so they're not as powerful as they used to be. And even if they were over here, I could see them being run for a little bit, but not, like, terribly long. We also have Gale at 3, so that's not, like, terribly surprising. Same with Formula. Instant Fusion, there's no reason to have it banned if Nodin's gone, cause that's pretty much the reason it was broken. Zenmeigi's kind of cool. I like the bringing back Zenmeigi. I'm okay with that. And Manchu, little surprising to me, but I guess if you're going to be hitting Necros, you got to give them the other ritual decks something. So there's that one. Okay, now we're going to move on to what I think should happen for our own TCG ban list, which will hopefully be coming out fairly soon. But who knows, Konami did say that they may start doing this just as a need, on a as-need basis, but we shall see. So, let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm not going to be talking about Shadal's, Burning Abyss, or Teller Knights. I already talked about them in a different video. If you want to see them, go ahead and click the link right next to them, and that'll take you to what I think should happen to these 3 archetypes specifically. So for the rest of this, I'm just going to be addressing the other cards that I think need to either be on or off. Some of the big ones that I'm talking about are Necros. Some people still feel that they haven't been hit enough. I haven't been facing a lot of Necros decks recently, so I personally don't have a whole lot of an opinion on it. However, if I were to, I would say that my opinion would have to consist of either Trish, Valkyris, or Unicorn being reduced down to 2 or potentially even 1, but probably not. The reason for that is I feel like these 3 are just the strongest and most difficult to deal with in the deck. It's just kind of annoying to have to try and deal with that. If anything were to happen to them, I would prefer it be that. Another deck people keep on talking about are Klees. Now, again, I don't face a lot of Klee decks, so I can't really say that I know if they're still busted or not. With Sacrifice being put to 1, Scout being put to 2, I'm not sure what else you could really do. The only thing that came to mind, if they were to be hit, would be putting Monolith down to 1, just because even with how Klees have been hit so far, Monolith's draw power is still ridiculous. I don't really have too much more to add. I can't see anything else getting hits because everything else is either searchable or whatnot, so it doesn't really matter that much. This maybe hits Scout down to 1 as well, but that feels... If anything, I could just see Monolith. If anything. But again, I haven't been dealing with Klees that often, so I'm probably not the right person to ask. And I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room here and bring back Stratos. Everyone wants Stratos to come back, except for people who think that it's still going to be a busted card. I personally do not think it's going to be that big of a deal. The main reason being is that everyone was talking about how we were just going to abuse its spell trap effect. Well, how many decks, really good competitive decks, run back row again? Not that many? Kind of what I thought. So, honestly, that effect is kind of useless now, so you'd pretty much just be using it for the searching ability, and is it honestly that big of a deal if they have 1 more searcher? I mean, crying out loud, they already have 3 Rhoda, 3 E-Calls, and 3 of this guy, and this guy can be searched out just as easily with those things, and Blaze Man in order to help him search out another thing. What the deck can do is honestly ridiculous. So, having Stratos back to even 1 is not going to break Heroes. Heroes are about as broken as they're going to get unless they get more support, which I don't see happening in the near future. Now, that being said, if I could see a fair way to do this, it'd probably be putting Stratos up to 1, and then putting Shadow Mist down to either 2 or 1. Again, kind of mirroring what the OCG ban list did here, it's just something that I could see happen because, honestly, I don't like Shadow Mist. I hate Darklaw, but I really don't like Shadow Mist. And I feel like his ability to just search out the Change Quick Plays and go into a first turn Darklaw every time is just a little bit ridiculous. So, I'm going to go ahead and say that would probably be a fair trade-off. That might be my own personal biases taking effect, so please take that with a grain of salt. Another thing I'd probably, afford to come off is Inzektor Hornet. Now, I realize that Hornet is not the most popular, that Inzektors are not the most popular archetype out there, since a lot of people remember the bullcrap that they could do with Centipede, Hornet, and Dragonfly. Those cards were just ridiculous. However, among the three, Centipede is not banned, and Hornet is not the broken one. Dragonfly is the broken one. So, I would honestly say that as long as Dragonfly stays at 1, Hornet could probably come back up to 2. Probably just test the water with it a bit, and if nothing happens, as it probably won't, just go ahead and bring it back up to 3. I just don't see Inzektors being that prominent of a threat anymore. Next up, we have Rescue Rabbit. Why is this guy still at 1? Is there really any like normal decks that would be inconsiderably broken with 2 Rescue Rabbits? Just 2. I'm not even saying put him back up to 3. Just 2. Do we really have to fear Dino Rabbits coming back? I fought a Dino Rabbit deck the other day and I kicked its ass. And they had Pendulums too, so they got out a first turn Dolka Andalogia, and I was using Phantom Knights, that new archetype that Yuto used, and I kicked his ass. They're not a threat anymore. It's easy to get around Dino Rabbits. As much as I hate to say it, it's not a big deal. Rescue Rabbit can come up to 2 and not change the game. I have proof of it, darn it. Alright, this one's gonna... These next 2 are kind of like my wild cards, so, again, take it with a grain of salt, please. First up is Sangan. I still don't see what the big deal with this guy is. Witch of the Black Forest, you could argue with me, and I will accept what you have to say entirely, because 1500 defense is a lot easier to work around than 1500 attack. However, since he has to be sent from the field to the graveyard... What's the big deal? You still have to actually, like, have him on the field first and then do something with him in order to get rid of him. So I guess you could argue he could be alright in a Synchron deck or something if you want to waste your normal summon on him as opposed to, say, I don't know, a Mathematician. I know you could argue he could search out Mathematician and pretty much anything else in a Synchron deck, but he just feels like he's too slow for the current game. And even if you were to program in something like Burning Abyss, his effect wouldn't even go off because he's not being sent from the field to the graveyard. He's just being sent to the graveyard as Xyz material. Sorry guys, that doesn't count. So, quite honestly, I still don't see what the big deal with Sangan is. He feels too slow for what most cards are capable of doing, and just honestly... Again, we can just test the water, put him at 1, but I don't see him being a prominent threat. And now we have this. The other elephant in the room, but this is one I put there myself. Exodia. I am sick and tired of watching people play Solitaire when I got on to play Yu-Gi-Oh! It is absurd, and Konami will not address the issue. They keep dodging around it and hitting things that prevent the Exodia OTK or even FTK instead of just addressing the problem that is Exodia. We now have the new chicken race thing. If you guys haven't faced the chicken race FTK, it's bullshit. Trust me, it's not something you want to go up against. I know I didn't, and yet I was stuck with it. So, the only way to really deal with the issue is not to get rid of Royal Magical Library, though I will admit it is stupid. It's not to get rid of chicken race, which again, I will admit is stupid. It's ban Exodia already. There's no need to have an OTK in the deck in the game that's this easy. I don't care if you keep the other limbs. You know the saying, cut off the head and the snake dies. This snake needs to die. I'm sick of seeing Exodia decks. They're stupid, they're unfair, they are boring, and they've had enough. I'm not dealing with these anymore. I just don't want to be troubled with Exodia decks anymore. Alright, so now we move on to the spell traps. The only spells I can really think of are the 2 that everyone's been asking for, Heavy Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. We need some kind of back row hate, people. We cannot keep doing this. If we keep the game as it is, with no mass back row hate, just keep it at things like Galaxy Cyclone, MST, dare I say Night Beam, we're not going to really be fixing any issues. I mean, yes, Satellar Knights did win YCS, but really it wasn't Satellar Knights themselves. It was back row Satellar Knights. Do you think they would have won if Heavy Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster was in the game? No. No, they would not have, because they would have gotten heavied enough times to knock their ass out of the tournament. It would not have happened. It's just ridiculous to me that these cards aren't back in at this point, especially with Pendulums. And Pendulums for me are the reason why I could see it being either Heavy or Harpies, because we do need some means of punishing Pendulum users and just generic back row users, which I realize there aren't a lot of back row heavy decks out there anymore that are really a threat. But at the same time, we do need something, because a lot of the lower tier decks do need to rely on a lot of back row, and we need something to take care of that. You guys ever tried to get past a wall of Fiendish Chains and all that other crap? It's a pain in the ass, and I'm tired of it. Alright, so now we got the 3 trap cards I think can come off the banned list by 1 position each. So, Solemn Judgment, unban it. At this point, half of your life points can be pretty substantial, or it can be a last-minute game changer, and I personally am for those. Those kind of are what make the games really hype. Plus, with Warning already knocking out 2,000 each, I don't see what the big deal with half your life points is. If you activate this too soon, that can be big. Even if you say life points don't matter in this game, 4K at a max cost is a hefty cost. I mean, sure, if it helps you win the game, it helps you win the game, but if you misplay that, it could cost you dearly. I mean, just look at a Hero Lives. I've seen people do that first turn, and they paid the price for it. I mean, now, admittedly, it can make a difference, but it really is subjective to what your opponent has when you activate this. You could have fallen for a bluff. You never know. So, for me, the risk is worth it. I think it could come back to 1. Torrential Tribute. Of what I like to consider the holy trifecta of limited cards, that being Compulse, Bottomless, and Torrential, Torrential to me seems like the safest, which is weird because for a while I did not think that, but given how the game is today, Torrential honestly is, I think, the weaker of the 3 and can probably afford to go back up to 2. Will it see a lot more play at 2? I doubt it, honestly, but, you know, just a little something is all I can really see. Compulse is really an amazing card, and it's really hard to get around that. Not a lot of cards say they can't be compulsed. And then Bottomless is a fantastic way to deal with Pendulum monsters, as well as just a pretty good trap card in and of itself. Torrential's a little bit tougher to work with since it does only destroy, and a lot of cards nowadays can actually get around that pretty easily. You never want to activate this in a Burning Abyss deck, just for no reason whatsoever. It's not going to help you. And the final card is Ojama Trio. Can someone please tell me why this card is still at 2? Is there any real reason for it? I cannot tell you the last time I saw someone playing Ojama Trio. I just couldn't. I don't think it's ever happened in recent history. It's not a relevant card anymore. It can come back to 3, and still nobody will play it. It's like when Konami thought the freaking Magician of Faith was going to be relevant again. It's not. Ojama Trio is not a relevant card anymore. Nobody plays it. And even if it's a 3, only a few people at best will play it. You will not see it in any competitive decks, I can promise you that. Alright, now we move on to the extra deck cards, of which I have a lot less than I usually do. But they kind of fix most of that, so... First is Thousand Eyes Restrict. Why? For what reason is this card banned? Is anyone really going to be running a deck devoted to Thousand Eyes Restrict? We just have strictly better versions of this card? Like 101? 101 is just better Thousand Eyes Restrict. It really is. Because you can get rid of the equip on this guy pretty easily. It's called an MST, or a used Galaxy Cyclone. You cannot do that to a material quite as easily as you run something like, I don't know, Overlay Eater, or Overlay Owl, or something like that. Some weird, obscure card that only targets the materials. It's not as generic as this. It just, to me, seems like it's a really, really weird way to... I don't understand why he's still here. you'd have to run both Relinquished and Thousand Eyes Idol in order to get him. I suppose you could make the argument you could just tech it in a Relinquished deck with, what's it called? King of the Swamp. But, I mean, arguably, it's not even really that worth it. It's easy enough to get around. Plus, if the effect is what you're worried about, that's not even a big deal. We have things like Fiendish Chain, Breakthrough Skill, Effect Veiler, all three of which are still seeing relevant play right now. So, honestly, this card is still kind of worthless. It can come off the ban list successfully and not be a big deal. And then we have Wind-Up Carrier Zenmaigi. Similar to Inzectors, I don't see why this card is still getting punished. It just makes no sense to me. Are Wind-Ups really going to, like, just come in and break the game again? Answer, no. No, they are not. If you think it's going to be that big of a deal, then bear in mind they have other banned cards. You can just ban something in their main deck. I don't really know Wind-Ups that well, but at this point in the game, I don't feel like Wind-Ups are a relevant threat anymore. They just aren't, honestly. And finally, we have the last elephant in the room, Elder Entity Norden. This card just recently got released a little less than a week ago, and yet I feel his time has already come. This card is so damn good, it has no reason to be in the game. Now, admittedly, with Lavolval Chain banned and Cyber Dragon Infinity not existing in the TCG yet, it's not as big of a deal. However, the fact that you can still use this guy, go into Ptolemus, like, stupid easy, and then just go into, like, a Pallades or something, is still a really good play. And I don't want to say get rid of Instant Fusion, because, quite honestly, that feels like it's punishing anyone else who would use Instant Fusion. I had to rely on Instant Fusion for a while. I don't want to be the guy that says, no, sorry guys, you can't have this card anymore. It's just not fair. In reality, Norden is the broken card. I realize that'll cause them to lose a little bit of money, but oh well. At this point, if they haven't sold all their tins, they're probably not going to. And hilariously enough, from what I've actually seen, a lot more people have actually been buying the Dark Rebellion tin as opposed to the Odd Eyes tin, which does have Norden in it. So, who knows? Maybe this isn't the money card they thought it is, or maybe everyone just realizes this card's inevitable fate. Either way, that's really all I got on this one for now. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, if this was a good little discussion, if you think we're even going to be getting our ban list soon, or if I'm just full of hot air. Don't forget to also like my page on Facebook, like this video, and subscribe to my channel for further content. Until next time, peace.